Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wise the Dome TV. Man, today I have a very, very, very special guest, man. It's one I've been, having in the works for a while now. He's an educator, he's a scholar, he's an organizer, one of the directors of the IBFA. Man, he just got a lot going on. He's for the people. Dr. Travis Hood Scholar Harris. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for coming through, bro.
Yo, what's up? What's up?
Oh man, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. How you feeling?
Man, you know what I was gonna say, man? Of all the things that you said about me being an educator, PhD, all the you know what I appreciate the most about what you said?
What
And
is
I'm
that?
for the people.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Because like
absolutely.
all that stuff, the PhD don't matter, the recognition don't matter, the name of the brand, none of that stuff don't matter if it doesn't change the material conditions of our people. So I appreciate
Mm,
that, bro.
absolutely, absolutely. And there's so many people that are occupying our spaces who you have to question: are they for the people or not? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And so we'll get into some of that a little bit later. But first, I wanted to, since it's your first time on, and hopefully, we'll be doing this again on the regular. But I like to everybody's first time on. I kind of like to, ask them their origin story on what kind of sparked them, on that path of knowledge itself and studying the Black radical traditions of the past and present. Like, what was that? What was like? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, first two things, my family and my environment.
Mm,
Right? So as you can tell by my name, Hood Scholar, I grew up in the hood.
hmm
I was in the trenches, right? So I grew up, shout out to Richmond, Virginia. I grew up in Richmond,
Shout
Virginia,
out to Richmond.
804,
hmm
Holland Park,
Yeah, yeah.
1990s. If anybody know about Richmond,
Mhm.
1990s. If you already know, I don't need to say anything else,
Right.
right? And shout out to my moms, yo,
Mm,
because my mom had me outside when I was 6 years old.
mm,
So as a 6 year old, we were doing community cookouts, community outreaches, just bringing the people out, right?
mhm.
Music, cookouts, all that, right? And then it literally just went on from there. What my mom said later on was because she saw so many statistics, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm thinking back to the language we had in the
Yeah.
90s, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, because that was definitely some of the language of
that
being
was
a
the language,
statistic.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
You
yeah,
gonna be another
yeah,
statistic, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
When my mom said me and my older brother, she was like, she didn't want me and my older brother to be another statistic.
Mm,
So she started this organization she called Youth Outreach Services to, as you can hear,
mhm,
do outreach to the youth,
mhm.
right? And so because of that, I was always outside,
Right.
right? And I'm saying that as in with the people, among the people,
Mhm,
right? And so that was really the beginning. I'll fast forward to undergrad now. And undergrad, I went to University of Virginia,
mhm,
and I don't know what was going on. The years there was like a couple of years where, for some reason, UVA let a whole lot of black students in.
mhm, mhm.
In fact, the years that I was there, the number of black students was equivalent to the black population in the country. So we had
Wow.
like it was like 13%
Yeah,
black,
yeah. Mhm,
and this was so weird. My advisor was black.
mhm.
I had several black professors. The Office of African American Affairs, we had an 86% black graduation rate, which was like the high. I don't know what was going to UVA during that time period, but it just so happened that the way everything lined up when I was there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so bringing the story forward, while I was in undergrad, I had some dope professors,
Mhm.
right? And they introduced me to Carter G. Woodson,
Yeah,
W.B. Du Bois,
yeah.
Amiri Baraka,
Mm,
Kwame Ture,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And the reason, like, reading these black intellectual thinkers literally changed my life.
mm,
But let me make that practical, right? Because I was a hood dude raised by a single mother, right? I had those experiences, but now reading Du Bois, Woodson, etc., that gave me the language to articulate these
mm.
experiences.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now I can talk about systemic oppression,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I can talk about double consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can talk about being miseducated and on and on and on. So for me, my origin was one, growing up in the hood. Two, my mom had me outside doing outreach in the hood and all that coming together, as you can see intellectually, where it started in undergrad. So now it get to the point where I become hood scholar.
Right.
Both hood dude who's outside, but also a scholar.
Yeah, no, that's real. Like, and there's always it's amazing how literature can do that for us when it comes to studying our greats, right? Um, and that's why it's important not just to even begin to implement the solutions that they gave us, but even on an inspiration level, right? Like it's like I was online the other day and we were talking about consciousness and the idea that you don't have to read to be conscious came up. And
Wow.
yeah, and like so for me, I think that they're lacking the understanding or idea of being able to expand your knowledge base gives you more to pull from, gives you the ability to identify and articulate, like you mentioned, what you see, what the ones before us attempted to do about it, what worked, what didn't work. Sometimes if we don't read and we think we're relying on our own understanding, how much of what we think is the product of media and social engineering? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Um, and so like for you, if you can just expound on that a little bit more about how important it was to read the Du Boises and Carter G. Woodsons and Kwame Ture's and all of the great scholars that you read then and read now.
Yeah, so my answer is multifold, right?
Hmm.
I think one is just our framing of the situation.
Hmm.
And I think what can help us understand this is thinking about levels of consciousness,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So I've reached a level of consciousness before I got to undergrad,
Right.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I knew something wasn't right with the world,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
I knew that just like this was remember that song. This can't be life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This can't be life,
Right.
right? Then kids ask why,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
Like why are we dealing with this? Like what you said, why is easier to get a gun or something than to go to school?
Yeah, or something
Why it's
like that.
easier
But
like say that again?
no, you right, something like that. I can't remember the exact lyrics,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
like it's easier. Why they stop from getting degrees in jail,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's like there's this question
Mm,
that when you have particular experiences that as I don't know if you saw the current online talk on Twitter,
hmm.
but it's like a lot of basically just to fill people in who not on Twitter but who watch podcasts. A lot of unfortunately it was black people. A lot of black people from the suburbs or who weren't from the hood
Oh
or who
yeah.
don't understand the hood. Or this is the other part I found out later on. Actually, you could have stayed inside in the hood.
Right, 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 right,
Outside, that was outside, right?
right.
But these people started basically saying how everybody from the hood are killers, gangsters,
Mm,
thieves, robbers. Oh my God.
right,
They were sounding worse than white supremacists.
right, right,
Like one person literally said that she doesn't want to go to a certain gas station because if she goes to that gas station, she might get robbed and killed.
right, right,
This is crazy,
right.
right? So there is a level of consciousness and understanding that I and many other people from the hood
Hmm.
can reach based on experience,
Facts.
right?
Hmm.
What the reading does this is why reading is so important because now it's not just what you individually experienced, right?
Mm,
It's
mm,
not just what Raheem experienced. It's not just what Hood Scholar experienced. It's what Raheem, Hood Scholar, Kequisha, Jaquan, and the whole long list of Black people experience collectively,
right.
right?
Mm,
Because when we think about Kwame Ture and Charles Hamilton book on Black
Black
Power, I'm
power.
trying to
Mm,
think I got it. Um, Kwame Ture was a part of one of the leading founders of Black Panther Party,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they set up chapters all over the country.
Right.
So his understanding of institutional racism, when he talks about in that book, isn't coming just from his own individual experience.
Right.
It's coming from doing work with 40 plus chapters all over the country.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now when you start reading and you engage with like Carter G. Woodson, for example, he literally studied the education system from pre-K all the way to college,
Mm,
right?
right.
So now we get an understanding of how it was when you were in middle school, how it was when I was in high school, how it was when Jay Cohen was in elementary school. It's like now we get a fuller and more well-rounded perspective,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why that could then increase your level of consciousness
Mm,
as to what's going on, right?
absolutely.
Because you know
Absolutely.
exactly what's going on in your block.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to take that away from
Right.
you, right? But what's going on in your block is different from what's going on in my block.
Right.
There are similarities,
Right.
right? Because we all under this global white supremacist system,
Right.
right? We are all a colony, right?
Right.
So there are similarities there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I got this dude do this and all that, right? So there's going to be some things that you just not even going to know about or be aware of that people who have done this work, like for me, I've interviewed people who are on the front line of Ferguson,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I've interviewed people who were outside, who were on the bridge, on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, during Bloody Sunday, right?
Mm, mm-hmm.
And I can tell you from these multiple interviews that these people experienced the same thing,
Mm,
but they all had different experiences because they were in different places
right.
during the events.
Right. Right.
So what the reading does, it allows for all those stories to come together and get a fuller picture of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, well said, man. If you can tell us about the origin of the IBFA and what it represents and what it is designed to do.
Yeah, so this is a perfect segue, right? So the IBFA actually came out of the Ferguson uprising,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So just to remind everybody,
Hmm.
August 9th, 2014. Actually, this is the 10-year of this, right?
Hmm.
Darren Wilson kills Mike Brown with his hands up, right? That's when we get the famous hands up, don't shoot, right? He kills him with the hands up, lays his body in the street for 4.5 hours.
Mm,
Let that sink in.
right.
That's wild,
That's
right?
crazy.
And there are people, Black people from Ferguson, looking at a dead body,
Mm,
right? Somebody even said, they said we might as well go ahead and start calling the Animal Rights Association,
mm,
right? Because at this point, this is completely inhumane
right.
the way you're treating this human being, right?
Mm,
And so we have the Ferguson uprising, right?
hmm.
It's funny because I was just talking to Tori before this,
Hmm.
and we were just talking about how I remember before 2014, before Trayvon Martin, people thought racism wasn't even a problem.
Right. That the Obama effect. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but we got a black president. We're the
Yeah.
most racial era,
Yeah. 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 I remember. I
right?
remember.
So 2012, Trayvon Martin opened some eyes,
Hmm.
and then literally 2014 opened the whole entire world eyes,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so founding members of the International Black Freedom Alliance were a part of that uprising,
Mm.
right? I'm kind of sad. I know this is recorded. I got it. I got to tell the truth.
Yeah. Nah. Speak the truth, brother.
No, it's kind of a stain, but
Hmm.
I actually used to be a part of Black Lives Matter.
Hmm. No. Oh, it is what it is. I get it.
So, and one of the founding members was a part of Black Lives Matter, right?
Hmm.
And so we were both a part of Black Lives Matter, 2014, 2015. Now I gotta say, shout out to Sister Ayaba Sabongale, Mama Julia in St. Louis. She said in 2014 we should have been suspicious of Black Lives Matter.
Hmm.
She was calling it from the very beginning,
Hmm.
right? We should have listened to her. She's actually one of the members of the organization.
Hmm.
So eventually, right, um, when they leave Black Lives Matter first,
Hmm.
right, and they start hands up, and then Tory leaves hands up, and Tory joins along with Mama Julia and several other people, and they realize that look, while they rocked the world, right, while they played a role in waking the world up to the injustices that we are dealing with as a Black people, that an uprising would not free us,
Right, right, right. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It can spark a revolution,
Hmm.
right? It can inspire a generation of people to get involved, but that's not going to be enough to get us free,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
so that's why they started the International Black Freedom Alliance,
Hmm.
because they realized that we needed an organization,
Right,
right?
right. Hmm.
I include Black Lives Matter because what happened was at the time we thought BLM was going to be the rallying cry to bring everyone together,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
That's why we was like everybody BLM, BLM,
Hmm.
because then we could be unified and then we could be organized.
So let me ask you this on the ground, because that was a big thing, right? Like, um, because in the beginning, nobody knew that Black Lives Matter was what they are. You know what I'm saying? But there might have
Right.
been some signs, like you said, with the sister that was, kind of putting it out in St. Louis. But what, like looking back at it, right? What when Black Lives Matter came in, like what actually happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me break this down. This is an excellent question, right?
Hmm.
So shout out to my homie Tori. He did this live when he explained how Black Lives Matter underdeveloped the movement,
Mm.
right? So for people who don't know, Walter Rodney wrote a book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa,
Hmm.
right? And so he said that Black Lives Matter underdeveloped the movement. Let me explain exactly what happened, right? A lot of us who was outside on the ground, who dealt with the police officers, all of that, etc. They were the ones who did the work.
Hmm.
Do you remember the dude with the blue vest?
Oh, what was his name?
Excuse me, DeWay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember. Uh-huh.
That's the perfect example of Black Lives Matter,
Mm.
because Black Lives Matter was there to take pictures, right?
Hmm.
But when the action started, they was like, peace out,
Right.
right? But this is what they did. And sometimes we just step back and give them like, wow, that was a genius move. They took all the work that we was doing on the ground, and because they had the media's attention, they didn't frame all that work as Black Lives Matter.
Mm. Right.
You see how
Wow.
slick they was?
Wow.
So
Wow.
Black Lives Matter wasn't getting tear gas.
Right.
Black Lives Matter didn't have to use milk to rinse their eyes out. Black Lives Matter wasn't being locked up. They weren't doing all those things,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
They were literally taking photos,
Right.
but they control what we call the air.
Right. Right.
And as you see what they were able to do, they were able to leverage what people did on the ground for what we call blue checks and book deals.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Blue checks on social media and book deals.
Right.
Or graduate school acceptance and tenure track jobs in academia.
Mm.
You
Mm.
see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So all of those, the thing is though, we didn't know and this is when even we talk about this in our organization a lot. It's hard to do the work on the ground and have a presence in the air,
Right. Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Because literally BLM had still have, but had a whole team that was dedicated just to media. So that's why they was always tweeting. It was always on Facebook. It was always live. It was always in the news, etc. Because that's what they did.
Right. 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 Right.
So then all of us who was on the ground doing all the work, people would literally call it Black Lives Matter.
Mm.
And unfortunately, because at first, right, because I was one of them, there was a lot of us who came to Ferguson during Ferguson October, right,
Mm-hmm.
or during the uprising. For people, let me break this down for people who don't understand. So the uprising started on August 9th, the day Mike Brown was killed.
Mm-hmm.
They actually protest for about August, September, October, November, December, for every day for almost 4 months straight.
Wow. Wow.
Like things had to be bad.
Every day for 4 months.
If you just like boom, 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 boom,
Every day for 4 months. Wow.
4 months, right? And so there were people who came there to Ferguson. I was one of them, and then went back because we thought the movement and we thought the move was Black Lives Matter. Went back and started local Black Lives Matter chapters.
Right. Okay. I
So
see.
that's why I started a Black Lives Matter chapter in Williamsburg,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so initially that's what happened. And so then unfortunately the movement became the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
And Black Lives Matter started to get all the credit where literally every single time somebody was doing something, they were saying it was Black Lives Matter, and at times when it wasn't.
And like whenever we think about like how you said like you were boots on the ground there, and then we have brothers like Darren Seals, rest in
Yep.
power. Uh and the you know just from, if I recall correctly, just like listening to his old interviews, he would be like he was having like conflict in real time with some of them, right?
Yeah. He noticed it, right?
Hmm.
And let me say this carefully, right? I am not anti-LGBTQIA.
Hmm.
Do not try to take this clip, make me say something I'm not saying. I know it's how they do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What Darren Seals noticed very early on, and why they got upset with him, was because LGBTQIA people tried to center themselves
Hmm.
in what was going on, right?
Hmm.
And this is the problem. Michael Brown was a black man, right? 99%, 90% of the police killings were black men, right?
Hmm.
And so what Darren Seals was saying was, no, y'all are literally capitalizing off of the death of black men, right?
Hmm.
But what they did was they painted him as being homophobic,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And he said, and he basically said, no, I'm not being homophobic. I'm saying that you can't take the issue that we are focusing on right now, which is police terrorism, and then try to shift that attention towards LGBTQIA people.
Right. Right.
And it's almost as if, and it sounds very similar to an all lives matter argument, right?
Hmm.
Are there black gay, bi, trans men who are being killed by the police? Sure, right?
Right.
But at that time, the focus was on black men.
Right.
And whenever white people start saying all lives matter, what did we say? We're not saying everybody else isn't an issue.
Right.
We just said this is what we're focusing on.
Right. Right.
And what it turns out, Darren Sills was prophetic.
Right.
Because what he was saying, exactly what happened.
Mm.
Now, all those people who got book deals, blue checks,
Yeah. Yeah.
weren't the quote unquote cishet or straight black men, right?
Right.
It was all those queer folk who capitalized off of the pain.
And and it's because we would hear stories that they were even throwing parties and stuff while people were boots on the ground, like they were getting money somehow. Like a lot of the BLM people was getting money somehow. Like I don't know who, because I guess what it was due to the fact, like you said, they were the ones that had the air. So well-meaning people would want to donate to
People
the
wanted to
cause,
donate.
and so but
Celebrities were
they're getting the
donating.
money.
Bro, I'm telling you, bro. I don't want to put the celebrities' names out there, but big time celebrities gave big time money.
Mm-hmm,
If I say their name, you know exactly.
mm-hmm,
And they came back to us and said, "Hey, how much money did you get?" We're like, "Huh? How much
mm-hmm.
money? We didn't get any of that money." They said, "No, we donated to Black Lives Matter."
Mm, wow. Wow. Because
You
the
see that?
media, yeah, because the media is showing that they're the ones that are responsible uh for this movement, but they just were the ones with the cameras.
Right.
Ha.
We have no idea how much money they got, bro.
Wow.
Because think about it. You think about every individual donation
Mm-hmm.
a person gave,
Mm-hmm.
they were literally affiliated with foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Foundations gave, celebrities gave,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's why eventually we get Alicia Garza being able to, who not Alicia, Patrice being able to buy those $1 million homes in California.
Yeah. Multiple, right?
Multiple.
And that's funny, right? When you see like Patrice Colors
Yep.
and she, it gets this notoriety from Ferguson and Black Lives Matter, and you see that all she's doing is fulfilling her capitalist dreams, right? Like, in the fact that in our community, there's no repercussions for this. It's literally
Right.
rewarded, right? Like, whenever we look at, all right, so whenever we look at things in hindsight, right? Because I think there's always something that we can learn from mistakes that we've made in the past. If there was something else that popped off organically like that, and let's say a new group that had the air, or at least had the capability of having the air, but they weren't the ones with boots on the ground, like, these people are being sent by somebody, or they are the media darlings, but this is not what it is. What do we do? How can we, like, make sure that they aren't able to infiltrate next time?
Let me tell you the number one thing we can do.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually working on in our organization. Um, but we need our own media,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so because so the only reason BLM was able to capitalize the way they were
Mm-hmm.
was because it was white controlled media pushing the narrative.
Right. Right. Right.
Let me show you how deep this is, though. This joint, you did some premium content, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I
Because I'm
appreciate you,
not
man.
sure how many places you can find this stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you
So
too.
first of all, let me ask you this question. Where did the term civil rights movement come from?
Mm. I've never asked myself that. I've always just used it because that was the term that, was pushed on us since we were young about that
Bro,
about that
this
movie.
joint is so cliche that
Right.
when I was in Selma,
Hmm.
asking them this very same question, I got everything from the way you just responded to
Hmm.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, wow.
Martin never said
He
he
never said
never said this is a civil rights movement,
right, right, right. He never said that.
right?
Yeah, facts.
So based on my research, what I have gathered is that they called the original court cases that they were fighting for in the 50s civil rights
Rights at.
cases.
This, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you.
And then the white media called it the civil rights movement.
Right, 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 right.
Let me ask this is my follow-up question.
Hmm.
When you think about civil rights movement, what do you think about?
You automatically think about what was going on more on the Southern Christian leadership side with the boycotts and this and that, but
Yep,
you don't think about any of the Black Power and SNCC and the Panthers. You don't, and Malcolm. You don't think
exactly.
about that.
Exactly. You immediately think about who?
Dr. King.
Dr. King.
Yep. yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like Dr. King just did everything, right? Like there wasn't thousands of people
Right,
on
right,
the ground,
right,
right?
right.
So look, bro, let me break this down to you.
Hmm.
So I was just listening to an interview with Mukasa,
Hmm.
right? Formerly known as Willie Ricks,
Hmm.
right? He was with Snick and founding member of the first Black Panther Party
Dope.
in Laos County,
Hmm.
right? And that's what he said.
What do you say?
This joint blew my mind. He said nonviolence was a tactic.
Mm.
Listen to this joint, bro. He said we were nonviolent on camera. But once the camera was off, we was busting heads.
Already, right? Right?
Joint changed
Every
everything.
changed everything, right?
Because everything we've been told the whole time was that this was a non-violent movement.
Right, right. And it kind of and to be honest with you, it shaped in our minds, especially when we were younger, before we might have had any nuance and context. It kind of made it seem soft.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Wow.
So listen to how they controlling the narrative, right?
Right.
We need y'all to be these kumbaya,
Hmm.
peaceful, marching, non-violent Negroes.
Right, 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 right.
Because Martin Luther King Jr.
Right, right, right,
is
right.
real civil rights,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And in reality, they were strapped up, shooting back, and fighting back.
Right. Wow. And that's it's interesting too because it even goes back with like some of these online crazies that we see now who act as if, even from the time of our enslavement, that we've been fighting back this whole time.
Exactly.
We've been fighting, but these narratives aren't the narratives that are pushed. Even whenever you see what's in these movies, right? It's always, if it's a movie about slavery, it's never a movie about slave rebellions. It's never a movie
Mm-mm.
about, it's never us. And even, like I haven't seen I didn't watch the movie about Fred Hampton and Mark Clark and
Oh,
the
Judas and the Black Messiah?
yeah, just, and I didn't watch that, but like even with that, from what I heard about the Bob Marley movie, like you said, it mentioned it's all propaganda to create a narrative to make us view the people that came before us the way they want us to view them.
The way they want us to do it.
Yep. It's crazy. And just to hear that though, like off camera, like that was
You
a
like, let
tactic.
me
Off
rethink this,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we see them and wanna like, okay, the camera left. What happened?
Right, 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 right.
And so, but what? Let me connect the dots for you though, right?
Mhm.
So the media named our movement civil rights movement. What did I tell you happened in 2014?
Right. Name
The
the movie
media,
Black Lives Matter.
boom.
Mm, mm.
You see that?
Yep. And you know what was funny? Because when I was watching it, and I would see it on CNN, and I would see, and especially CNN and MSNBC, because those are supposed to be quote unquote liberal channels,
Liberal,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, yo, they acting like they got love for Black Lives Matter a little bit too much for me to like that's a red flag, because regardless to whether it's right-wing media or liberal media, when it comes to real black radical movements, they're never for them. And I was like, yo, they're really on this
It's
Black
doing
Lives,
up, right?
yeah, man. like and when you think about it now, what we were saying, I want to kind of get back to that for a second. Like, if we're ever in that situation again, you said that what you think the main thing to keep infiltrators from being able to take over these movements is having our own media.
Right.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm saying that is so now because what I'm saying we're doing now is we are rewriting this narrative,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So we are literally working on it's easy for us to do the Ferguson one,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because the original founders were in Ferguson. They
Right.
were there. They were
Right.
on the ground. There's nothing BLM can say to them,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
You can't fight back against that, right? So what we're doing currently, we are rewriting the narrative. So I'm giving this as an example, as in to say, this is something we are practically doing right now,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so what we can do then, hopefully, it build off of this, right? And what we really need to do, which is a practical next step, podcasts like yours,
Hmm.
websites like the ones we're building, right? Um, YouTube channels, etc. We need to bring them together
Yeah.
because if we could come together, we might just have enough media. We might have a big enough media group where we can have a large enough audience to control the narrative.
Absolutely. I agree.
Where it could at least be a counter narrative to the popular narrative, but it's going to be clear that the popular narrative is being pushed by white media,
Hmm.
and a counter narrative about Black life is going to be pushed by Black media.
Facts. Facts.
You see what I'm envisioning?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, whatever you thinking, I'm in, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because uh it's as the saying goes, individuals don't beat institutions, and I'm down to play my part and work with other brothers and sisters to especially in the media space. Like, it's not a competition. We out here trying to spread the word. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? Like,
right,
um,
right.
and I kind of wanted to ask you, and like, being one of the directors of the IBFA. Uh, well, first, before I go there, like, if you can you talk about some of the efforts that the IBFA
Yeah,
has been
yeah.
involved in?
So, bro, we cracked the code, man.
Mm,
I
mm.
ain't gonna lie, bro.
Right, right.
We cracked the code,
And shout
man.
out to my brother Dwayne Omawale and my brother
Okay.
Jabril. They members of the IBFA. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to them. But go ahead.
Yeah, bro. So what we figured out, bro, we found out that we came up with this thing that we call the 4 pathways to freedom,
Mm,
right? And what we figured out are the actual practical, pragmatic steps that we can take to get free,
hmm.
right? So we start off with Malcolm X's famous speech, the ballot or the bullet,
Right.
right? So we got the ballot, the bullet, we added in the buck,
Hmm.
and then the boat,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
So ballot, bullet, buck, boat. Let's break those down. Oh, and other thing to be clear, right?
Hmm.
Our organizational ideology is Ubuntu,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
So we are a Black organization.
Hmm.
We believe that Black people are smart enough, talented enough, and got the skills and talents in order to get free, right?
Right. Hmm.
So Black people working together using Black philosophies, right? Our foundation is Africa,
Mm,
right? So
mm.
uh, we are black. I'm trying to say black as much as possible,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We are
yeah, yeah,
black,
yeah.
blackity, black,
Right,
right?
right.
So we are. So our foundational ideology is Ubuntu,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
This is a unifying ideology. I am because we are,
Hmm.
right? As in, I can go 5 miles by myself, but me and you, Raheem, together can go 100 miles,
Facts. Hmm.
right? And so we use Ubuntu. That's our thing that draws everything together. This is important because I'm about to explain each of the 4 pathways, but always keep in the back of your mind that even though I'm explaining them individually, they are all interconnected,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
All right, so let me break this down. Ballot, right? Ballot is looking at how politics can play a role in Black freedom. And if you believe politics can play a role in Black freedom, this is your role,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now, the thing about ballot is, usually people think about politics, they usually only think about the national election, right?
Yeah.
With
Hmm.
the president, right? When we get into the grassroots level, ideally, right, we got a couple options. One, we can eventually work on making a Black political party,
Mm,
right?
hmm. Hmm.
That's one option. So we do want to do a black voter survey, and that we all mythically know in our heads what black people want and looking for. But
Absolutely.
can you point to one place right now that says these are the expectations of black voters?
Not really.
Nope.
Nope.
Then the third part of this is actually putting people in office, right?
Mm,
So of course, when we look at the areas where there are predominantly, especially down south, right?
hmm
Like where I just came from in Alabama, in
hmm
Selma and what else I was? I can't remember. But where Montgomery, yeah, Selma, Montgomery, all the politicians are black.
Wow.
It's
Right.
black people running against other black people,
Right. Wow.
right? So that
Right.
means there are towns, there are cities, there are counties, there are city councils and board of supervisors that if we use our grassroots organizing power, right, we can put them into position,
hmm
right? And
hmm
we put them in a position, we put the city manager in position, then they can control the budget to provide funds that we need for the black people in their
Right. Right.
constituency.
Right.
You feel
Right.
what we're saying?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so that connects directly with the bullet, which along with that speech, and the bullet is strong arming power, right?
Right. Right.
It's what it sounds like, actual being armed, self-defense, strapped up, right? Because we know Malcolm said it best. Even Hollywood said that every revolution had
Bloody.
bloodshed,
hmm
right? So it's the direct, overt, okay, we need weapons, etc. But it's also grassroots organizing power,
mm
right?
hmm
As in, this is influenced by the Black Panther Party, bringing the people together,
Right.
right? Because
hmm
if you get the masses of people together, they can make demands on city council. You can make demands on businesses. You can make demands to get what you want, right?
Right.
That's also the IBFA difference from some of these other organizations, right?
hmm
Because a lot of these like social organizations, etc., they just social means like we actually outside,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We outside with the people, right?
hmm
So that's the ballot, the bullet. The next is the buck, right? The buck, of course, relates to because you're gonna need money to put people in office, right? Or
Right.
you need money to provide services. And so that's another thing I want to say about our organization. While we do have a long-term goal of Black freedom, some of our people still have immediate needs,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So we have fed, clothes, coats, diapers, pampers, all that stuff, right?
hmm
So we have done that. We do that to meet the immediate needs of our people, right? And that's with the bullet. But also doing that, to do that, we need a buck, right? So
hmm
that's one part of the buck. The other part of the buck connects back to Ubuntu. We call this thing that we call Ubuntu economics, right? Ubuntu economics is having every part of the process being black,
hmm
right? This is eventually where we want to get to. So let me give you an example. Say we set up a store, right? We want to own the land that the store is on. We want to own the building of the store. When we put the shelves in, we want to own the shelves, right? The people we buy the shelves from, we want to buy from a black shelf vendor. The people who transport the shelves from the shelf vendor to our store, we want to be a black transportation, right?
Right.
Same thing for all the products, right? Getting products from Africa, selling products. You see what I'm saying? So literally every single part of the process being black.
hmm hmm
Pulling this off, think about how much times the dollar will circulate with in the black community,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's Ubuntu economics. The last one, the boat. What the boat sound like to you?
All right, man. Repatriation or head.
That's right.
Yeah,
Going
indeed.
back to Africa,
Yeah.
right? And so our plan, which is a little bit different, or it's a thought out, it's a thought out plan, right? We're not saying next year, hey, we're just going to take 1 million people back to Africa, right?
hmm
We're not saying that. We're saying that right now we are building relationships with people in Africa. So just to give you two, I actually had a shirt made.
hmm
I had Hood Scholar shirts made, right?
hmm
Guess where they were made? in
Where?
Nigeria,
Wow. Wow.
right?
Wow. Okay.
And with that, that was kind of like Ubuntu economics because every part of the process, I used somebody black as much as I could, right?
Right. Hmm.
So we are building relationships. So the first step is building relationships,
Right.
right? While we're building relationships, what we discover is that there are changes that needs to be made in Africa,
Hmm.
but let's make those changes together,
Together. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And this is the point that we need. This is the distinction we need to make. Not what they do on Twitter when they just say, "Oh, you from Africa? You're not from Africa." We need to make a distinction between colonized and decolonized minds.
Right. Right. Right.
Because you're gonna have colonized minds in America, the same way you're gonna have colonized minds in Africa.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what we need to do, what we've been searching for, those decolonized minds in Africa that we can work together, right? So then with decolonized minds work together all over the world,
Hmm.
from Africa
Hmm.
to Cuba, to Brazil, to the United States, to Canada, to Australia, to the UK, right?
Hmm.
Then we can develop a plan to eventually bring millions of black people to Africa, right?
Indeed.
And where we at in that plan is like right now we're looking like a 15-year plan.
Hmm.
Um, the biggest that we're trying to figure out now is a location.
Hmm.
Um, Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is looking like the spot right now. We between Burkina Faso and Senegal. But Burkina Faso because that new politician they got,
Yeah.
that new
Mhm.
ruling party look like he's really legit.
Well, I wanted to ask you this, bro,
But
because as you mentioned it, we see a lot online as far as people with colonized minds on both ends. And then when we think and when we think about organizing groups that from the past, right? Whether it was the UNIA or
yep.
the BPP or CORE or SNCC, maybe not CORE as much, but SNCC and MOVE and all of these other groups, right? Like, and even Dr. King, right? When it comes to his ideology as it began to develop, even Malcolm with the Organization of Afro-American Unity, they all saw our struggle as an international one.
Right.
And obviously, the IBFA does as well. If you can, for people who may be on the fence, who see some of those conversations online and don't understand why all of our freedom fighters of the past saw our struggle as international and why the serious freedom fighters of today see our struggle as an international one.
So, first we can just think about white supremacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Shout out to Neely Fuller. You know what Neely Fuller
Oh,
said about white supremacy?
well, he said if you don't, he said if you don't understand what he said, if you don't understand white supremacy, anything, he said I
If you
saw the
don't
tip of my
understand
tongue.
white supremacy, racism,
Mm-hmm.
what it is and how it functions, everything else will confuse you,
Yeah, absolutely,
right? So
absolutely.
when we think about white supremacy, we need to understand it as a global phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is why people spend so much time on capitalism, because capitalism gets close, right? This is why you have battles between anti-cap. The problem, that's to the confusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what capitalism does show you is when we think about capitalism, we're thinking about a global market,
Right, right.
right? So let's use that as the way of understanding white supremacy. And we can see the ways in which white people buy, sell, exchange goods, services from one continent to the next to gain capital. Then you can see how, where these services, like, let's just make it super simple. Who is doing the labor for these services?
Right, right. Us,
Black and
it's
brown people
yeah, absolutely,
all over the world,
all over the
right?
world. Hmm.
And so why they can understand the harmful effects of capitalism is actually just one more step above that. And we need to understand how the goal is to maintain whiteness and white people in a superior position over everyone else,
Mm.
right? And I said whiteness first because I had to say it that way because non-white people can still uphold whiteness, right?
Absolutely.
They can
Hmm.
still
We see
be and
it.
act white and talk white and all that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if we if we understand then how the issues that we are dealing with are global,
Hmm.
right? How the highest police terrorism brutality rate is actually in Brazil,
Mm,
right?
I
Because
didn't
I
know
was
that.
talking to somebody from Brazil when we was
Mhm.
talking about police terrorism in the US. It was like, yeah, we got 3 to 4 victims a day,
Wow.
right? This is why again, back when the previous when we started the conversation with reading, right?
Hmm.
Right. So if we only focus on the United States, then we're gonna miss everything else that's going on in the world. Let me give you this example. This is an example I always give my students, right? Say there is a hurricane or tsunami in China, right?
Hmm.
Right now in the United States, where are a lot of our products made?
In China.
In China. Say, what do you think is going to happen when that hurricane or that tsunami happens in China? What's going to happen to your products?
Oh man, you're not going to be able to. Shop might close down, man, just depending on how bad that
Right.
tsunami
So
and
if the shop closed down, is that product going to be able to come to the United States?
nah, not at all.
Will you be here in the United States be able to get access to that problem? I mean,
No,
to that property?
no,
No. What caused that? Was it something that was done directly here in the United States?
absolutely not. Something that, yeah, good point. Something that happened in China. Yeah, great point. I love that analogy. I might have to liberate
Go
that one
ahead,
from you,
take
my
that
brother.
gun, bro. And this is the way global white supremacy works, right? You can't just go by what immediately affects you,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
The reason why you want to know the reason why Donald Trump wanted to become president? Because after this podcast, anybody watching it, there are Trump towers in places Trump owns property.
Mm. Right.
He became president so he could build his empire.
Right. Don't he got like a Trumpville or something in Israel or something? It's crazy.
It's crazy, bro. So
You,
that's why. So how if our enemy is working together
mhm.
to maintain their superior position,
We
like you
have
said,
to.
how can we individually fight against them?
Yeah, we can't. We can't. And I hate that. And I'm glad you broke it down that way because the people, anybody that was ever on the fence shouldn't be anymore. And I kind of, it kind of leads me to my next question as well because a lot of these things that I'm asking also kind of involve the four B's that you mentioned when it comes to um, uh, what the IBFA is about. Entering into election time, right? And we see there are genocides happening all over the world. We see that due to the fact that I would like to say probably social media has opened the eyes of a lot of people because they see video of what's actually happening
Right.
in a lot of these places. Not even just social media, the fact that maybe more people are just more informed these days. Um, and here comes election time, and we are in a position where we're looking at two we're looking at two candidates where both have both are going to be pro genocide, right? Both are going to be pro white hegemony. Um, one is more of a loudmouth than the other. You mentioned the ballot and the bullet, right? And we talk about the fox, right? Um, but with that said, this idea where people, it feels like even in some instances, people are being vote shamed, right? For this idea that you must vote for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
When it comes to that whole idea of the lesser of two evils, it feels like I've been hearing that idea my whole life that this is the lesser of two evils. When it comes to us as a group, right? As a political bloc, as black people, not even just as black people, as also people that are tired of the status quo. Um, you know, working class people that understand something is wrong. Um, but they're constantly told you got to vote for the lesser of two evils. In this case, it's because you don't want Donald Trump to be in office, but before that, it might have been you don't want such and such to be in office. You don't want
Right.
like this whole idea, this fear thing, like just. But when it comes to this idea of voting for the lesser of two evils, like what is your thoughts on
I'm about to say something. I don't. It might not blow your mind, right? But it
it?
might blow some of your listeners' mind. What if the lesser of two evils is actually Donald Trump?
mm, right, 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 right.
So look at this, yo. Donald Trump has a track record of 4 years.
Hmm.
Joe Biden has a track record of 30 years.
Hmm. Crime bills, all kind of stuff.
Bro!
Yeah, he's been on video saying that if Israel didn't exist, we would have to create one. He's been on record saying that. You know what I'm saying? And this is not and this is not an endorsement of Trump because I don't like either.
Yeah.
But you're right.
But what's been spoon fed to us that Joe Biden is supposed to be the lesser of two evils. And I'm
Right,
saying where?
right, right.
Millions of black men
Are
have been locked up
yes,
against the Jim Crow Joe,
yes,
right?
yes.
During his presidency, we had Haiti, right?
Hmm.
And black people who were fleeing and trying to cross the border being beaten
Yeah, yeah.
with,
Hmm.
with some type of object
Hmm.
by white people on horses.
Right,
Wow, how much money has gone out to other immigrants? How much money has gone out to Ukraine?
right, 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 right.
Right? Wow, right now he
Billions. Every
encouraged,
time we
like you
looking up,
already
it's
said,
billions of dollars. Every time we look up.
and like you already said, he supporting the genocide on Gaza,
Hmm.
right? And this is wow. Something told us to ignore. Ignore the fact that he had sexual assault charges.
Mm.
Remember when he first started running,
Hmm.
all of a sudden the Me Too folks got real quiet.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Believe woman went out the window,
Right,
right?
right.
Because we supposed to be beating Trump.
Hmm.
Wow,
Right.
there were women who said
I had
that he
forgot about that.
sexually assaulted them.
I had forgot about that. So that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was allegations, wasn't it? I just looked it up again. Yeah, you're right. They said because they said it happened in '93 and it got brought up just like it should during the
For Bill Cosby, all the
yeah
other black people,
right and it got brought up and they
believe
told
them.
and they and not only were they kind of silent, they weren't silent about it, they were attacking the woman, they were attacking her character.
And victim blamed them.
Yeah,
Went against every single thing that they said they was fighting against.
right. Right,
Let that sink in, bro.
right. Right. That's crazy.
So we saw what Trump did for 4 years. So if we comparing 4 years of Trump's craziness
Hmm.
with the 30 years of Biden, which one is more evil?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta kind of say the Biden because he's been doing it longer.
That's not even mentioned. Remember, he cut funding for HBCUs.
Oh wow, I forgot about that too. You right. You right. How do we get like how do we get like as a people, right? What is the process of getting us to the point where we ignore all of these terrible things and say, I'm gonna vote anyway because I'm gonna vote for him. I'm gonna vote for
Yeah,
Biden. I'm
so
gonna vote for
unfortunately,
like
being
what
in
is the process?
Alabama, I saw
Mhm.
this, right?
Mhm.
And there are still a generation of us that believe voting is going to get us free,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
right? And they so long have been wedded to Democrats but they're still holding on to the blue no matter who.
Yeah.
That joint broke my heart
Mm.
to hear this person, and she was from New York, right? So New Yorkers are like stone cold blue, but she was just like bad and bad and bad and bad.
Hmm.
Thankfully, the person I was with got up after and said, "We deal with imperialism. It don't matter who the president. This could
Facts.
be an imperialist nation, right?"
Facts. And that's the
But
point. But go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
part of the issue is that a generation of us is still holding on to vote. Our ancestors died so we didn't vote. So
Yeah.
voting is important. And then also, who you gonna vote for? You're gonna vote Democrat.
Right.
So no matter who the president is, right?
And like you said, and it's been said before, like all politics is local, right? Even I mean, what at this point, what do I mean? It's like I know the idea is always about who can fill the Supreme Court and who can do these things, but outside of that, it's like I'm struggling to see how relevant it is to a black man or woman's everyday life at this point.
And that's the point, right? And this is why we need to have some tough intra-communal conversations
Hmm.
with our elders, because what the young folks are saying is that we hungry, we tired, we struggling, and y'all telling me to vote.
Right,
What is voting going to do to change my life?
right.
It's funny because somebody made a meme. It was like black people life under Biden, black people life under Trump, and it was the same picture,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we can do that.
right?
We can do that for all. We can do that for all them presidents. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So what we got to deal with then is to have these real intro-communal. So it's two things, right?
hmm,
One is an understanding of the political process, right?
hmm,
The lesser of two evils, from their perspective, they still evil,
right. Oh
right?
yeah. Hmm.
And they're still evil, and they're still evil in an evil empire,
Right.
in an even imperial nation
Hmm.
that has a colony,
Hmm. And we
that
are,
has a blue
and
collar.
Dr. Travis Harris, also known as Dr. Hood Scholar. It's been it's been a pleasure building with you, brother. I definitely hope to do it again.
Yeah,
For everybody that wants to find you on social media or how to find out more about the
yeah, bro.
IBFA, let everybody know.
Yep. So IBFA is THEIBFA.org. Again, that's THEIBFA.org. On Facebook, I am Hood Scholar. On Twitter and IG, I am Dr. Hood Scholar. Facebook Hood Scholar, Twitter, IG, Dr. Hood Scholar.
Dope, dope, man. Again, it was a pleasure, my brother. You have a great evening.
Peace.
Peace.